Hi YouTube. What's the worst trait a human can have? Greed? Sociopathy? Arrogance? Narcissism? But why do we consider these bad? Well, if you ask a moral relativist, then no trait is inherently positive or negative. It just depends on the context. Take greed, for example. It's usually defined as a hoarding of resources, an unwillingness to share with the needy. But what if you're the one in need? Is it greedy to not donate $20 if that's all you have to spend on dinner? Arrogance, narcissism, the perception that you're better than those around you. Well, these people tend to make powerful leaders. The point is, you can generally make a case for any trait being useful or destructive, but that doesn't quite feel right, does it? We don't just say some traits are unhelpful, we say they're dangerous. We avoid people who lie, who cheat, who feel no guilt. We call them toxic, or even evil. There has to be a reason why we as a species have decided that some people are just better to avoid. And more often than not, there's one behavior at the heart of it all. Manipulation is when people will do or say whatever it takes to achieve their goals. They'll lie, use you, and twist your emotions until you question your own instincts. Manipulators don't just want things their way, they want you to think it was your idea all along. A trait we see as a virtue is loyalty. It's good to have strong family bonds and to build trust in a marriage, but how could context change this? When is loyalty destructive? On November 18th, 1978, over 900 people died in the jungles of Guyana because of their devotion, their loyalty to one man. I'm talking about the Jonestown Massacre, a cult you do know. For decades, it was the greatest loss of American life, second only to 9/11. The members of the People's Temple were coerced by their leader Jim Jones to take their own lives. It began with over 300 children. Then one by one, the rest of the community followed, knowingly dosing themselves with cyanide mixed into a vat of punch. There exists an audio recording of the entire tragedy, often known as the Jonestown Death Tape. This tape lasts around 45 minutes, and the entire time Jim Jones is essentially urging everyone to shut up and die with dignity as they're convulsing in pain on the hot jungle ground. Examining this tape, it's clear what can happen when manipulation meets loyalty.
The world, the kingdom suffereth violence, and the violence shall take it by force. If we can't live in peace, then let us die in peace.
We're all ready to go. If you tell us we have to give our lives now, we're ready. I'm pretty sure all the rest of the brothers are with me.
I want to go. I want to see you go, though. They can take me and do with me whatever they want to do. I want to see you go. I don't want to see you go through this hell no more. No more, no more, no more.
But why then didn't they run from manipulation but welcome it? When devotion, obedience, and loyalty override reason, you stop seeing red flags and you start seeing something else.
Your only chance to evacuate is to leave with us. So the one or the mind that was in Jesus, what? That mind is in me? You'll have to decide that for yourself. I must admit that I am here again.
That's Marshall Applewhite, the leader of another cult you do know, Heaven's Gate. He exhibited a trait almost every cult leader shares, a God complex, or as some psychologists call it, malignant narcissism. In the early 2000s, a national survey of over 30,000 adults revealed that more than 6% of Americans meet the criteria for narcissistic personality disorder, with men being nearly twice as likely to be diagnosed than women. People with NPD feel special, an overwhelming sense of self-importance. It's common for them to have manipulative and exploitative behavior in their relationships, and to carry themselves with arrogance. While narcissistic personality disorder can certainly damage relationships, it doesn't always look dramatic. Not every narcissist is violent or delusional. Many hold jobs, live independently, and function socially, at least on the surface. But behind closed doors, they might leave people around them feeling drained, dismissed, and constantly walking on eggshells. The harm they cause is often emotional, subtle, and persistent. Malignant narcissism, on the other hand, is described by Erich Fromm as the most severe pathology and the root of the most vicious destructiveness. It's a psychological profile that blends narcissistic personality disorder with elements of antisocial personality disorder, aggression, and even paranoia. These individuals don't just believe they're better, they believe they have the right to dominate, punish, or even cleanse those who oppose them. Jim Jones, David Koresh, Charles Manson, leaders of cults you do know. They aren't all just malignant narcissists. They had the charisma required to coerce and build a following. But what if they lacked this trait? What if the people they controlled never had a choice?
I just went away from home because I live in a family of 15. We have abusing parents. Did you hear that? They hit us, they throw us across the room. They pull our hair, they yank out our hair. My 2 little sisters right now are chained up.
Paris, California police received a phone call January 14, 2018 from a trembling 17-year-old Jordan Turpin. She detailed a brutal scene of neglect and abuse of 13 individuals at the hands of David and Louise Turpin. I say individuals, not children, because the siblings ranged from 2 to 29 years old. During the police ride back to the Turpin's house, officers thought that Jordan had a mental disability from her lack of social skills. And when asked, "Are you injured?" she replied, "What's injured?" Upon arriving at the house, they would soon find out the conditions that caused her lack of mental development. The Turpin children would be chained to their beds for weeks at a time and only be allowed a single meal a day. They were frequently beaten, choked, screamed at, had their hair pulled out, and in the case of the little ones, thrown across the room. They were filthy, reported to be punished for washing their hands above their wrists and only being allowed 1 shower per year. A witness stated that when she first saw one of the children, she thought that they were wearing gloves because it was the only part of their body that wasn't black. The abuse and control David and Louise Turpin exerted on their children was tragic, and no amount of jail time will ever give their children those decades back. But this isn't a cult though, right? No matching robes, no prophecy, no cyanide-laced Kool-Aid. Well, there's dozens of traits often used to define cults, but a clearer, more practical tool is the BITE model, developed by cult expert Stephen Hassan. BITE stands for Behavior, Information, Thought, and Emotion Control, the 4 methods cult leaders use to manipulate their followers. So let's see. The children were told when to eat, sleep, and shower. They were locked into their room and chained to beds for years. That's behavior control. They weren't allowed to watch TV, use the internet, or read books. They were homeschooled and taught lies about the outside world. That's information control. David and Louise told their kids that behind the walls of their home was danger and that their parents were protecting them. Any doubt, curiosity, or resistance was met with violence or humiliation. That's thought control. The children were taught that they were sinful for wanting freedom. Small privileges like getting to wash their hands or being unchained were used as rewards for obedience. With no external support, the children became dependent on their abusers. That's emotional control. Just like cult members, children of narcissistic parents learn not to question authority, to ignore their instincts, and to define their worth based on someone else's approval. The Turpins, the Harts, the Jacksons, they all shocked the public for one reason. They looked like families, not cults. But behind closed doors, they shared something darker. And all of these are examples of family cults you do know. But sometimes all it takes is one person, one parent, one partner, one narcissist, who decides they are God, and everyone else exists to orbit them. This is what cult expert Dr. John Laliche calls the cult of one. Narcissists have an obsession with their own image, and they'll do anything to preserve it. I wouldn't ever be caught running a family like these maniacs on the news, when Sending your child to school with bruises on their arms is not a good look. But bruises on their psyche? The narcissistic parent will mold their child's mind from a very young age to sculpt them into something that reflects back a flawless version of themselves. The first step in this process is asserting utter dominance at a very young age. Teaching their child to never talk back and to always do what they're told, or else. The parent becomes the god, judge, and savior of the child's universe. The child is taught exactly how they're supposed to be. Who they should be friends with, what hobbies they should pursue, and what they're allowed to like. They might receive an insane amount of praise when they're following the script. This is called love bombing, a manipulative tool used so that whenever the child doesn't fall in line with the plan, the praise they're used to can be ripped away, causing them to crave their parents' approval. In the narcissistic family, daily gossip is a ritual. They'll have get-togethers where they'll talk about all the trashy people they saw that day, with the leader of the family setting clear examples for children of what's acceptable and what's not. And when the child's made a mistake, The parent gossips to their siblings or grandparents, anyone that'll make it known that the child is being judged for their shortcomings. This creates a cycle of emotional inconsistency, where love is the reward for obedience, and humiliation is the price of resistance. The child becomes hypervigilant and anxious. They adapt by suppressing who they really are and becoming what the parent needs them to be. And because this dynamic is hidden behind smiles and Sunday dinners, it's socially invisible. Outsiders may see a close-knit or disciplined family, and many children won't realize the dysfunction until adulthood. Behavior control, identity control, thought control, and emotional control. Picture this. You're 5 years old and you've just finished a family drawing, so you rush to show your mom. She gives it a half smile and says, "That's good, but do you really think my nose is that big?" She walks to the fridge to grab your older sibling's drawing that's been hanging up. She says, "See, this is how mommy looks. I think you just need more practice." Something in you sinks. You don't have the words for it yet, but you get the sense you're not as good. Now you're 8. You're just about ready for bed and focused on your cartoons. Your mom comes into your room and says, "Your room is a mess, you need to clean it up now." Still entranced by your show, you mumble, "No, I don't want to." "No," she says with a sharp tone. "That amount of disrespect is unacceptable." She storms off and comes back with garbage bags, filling them with all your toys. She tells you that since you don't want to pick them up, she's throwing them all away. You cry yourself to sleep in an empty room. And in the morning, she tells you that she hadn't thrown them out yet, and if you apologize for being disrespectful, then you can keep your toys. You won't make that mistake again. You're 12 now. You're on a soccer team she insisted you join. On the verge of making a goal, you trip over the ball and take a hard fall. On the drive home, mom's on the phone with grandma laughing about how clumsy you are. You sink back into your seat and she shoots you a glare from the rearview mirror. "If you're not able to take a joke, then how do you expect to make friends?" she asks. Now you're 15 and you do have friends, but one of them made a comment that really bothered you today. When you come home, you vent about it as a part of your daily family gossip. She gets a stern look and tells you that if they were really your friend, they wouldn't talk to you that way. People don't change, she tells you. You need to cut them out. Under pressure from your mom, you do, but then the rest of your friend group turns on you, thinking it was cruel. You're very upset by this, but your mom comforts you, reminding you that no matter what, she's your best friend. Mom knows best. Sometimes it doesn't look like a commune in the jungle, just a normal, suburban home. A home where the loyal followers of a manipulative and charismatic parent are slowly losing their individuality. These are narcissistic household cults, and these are the cults you don't know. Thanks for watching. Good stuff.